lot of it is just hitting your clients with the truth. Like,
Yes.
you know you have this stuff going on because
And the more transparent you are, the
Yeah.
better, because they're going to understand exactly why you're going that route.
Absolutely. Efraysa Ramos. Did I say it right?
Efraysa.
Efraysa. Damn it. Efraysa Ramos.
Yes.
See, I roll the R a little bit.
Yes.
A little bit. Well, Efraysa, thanks for coming down. You drove, how long did it take you to get here?
Almost 4 hours.
You live in the next state. So like it's
Yes.
like we're in Connecticut. You live in New York.
Yes.
But you live on Long Island.
Yes. That's what made it the longer the drive.
Because you had to like drive to the city almost
Yes.
and then come here.
Correct.
Wow. You did all that just to share some training with these people watching.
Yes.
So
And
appreciate
it's a
that.
pleasure to be here.
Next time you take the ferry, I bet we got
Yes.
it quicker.
That's probably going to be shorter.
Yeah,
Probably
'cause
half or
Funny
less
thing
than
is,
half the time.
literally like 10 minutes from our office is where the ferry
And it's 20
leaves you.
minutes away from my house.
Oh, man. So
I
yeah, you
could've
could have
saved a
been
lot
here
of
like an
time.
hour. All right, next time. We'll get
Yes,
better.
yes.
We get better every day. But we're going to talk about some sales stuff today. So you've been with us for 3 years now? Going on 3
Going
years.
on 3 years.
First year you started, you were part-time?
No, I actually full-time
You
the
were
whole
full-time.
time.
Got it. 84,000 your first year.
Yes.
Second year, 169,000. So
Yes.
you doubled. And you looks like you're going to double this year, maybe even more. You're at 252
Yes.
as of November week 1. So as
Yes.
recently. And you're pushing hard for Hall of Fame, right?
Yes, I am.
Is that important to you, Hall of Fame?
It is, and
Yeah.
it's okay if I don't hit it.
Yep.
But I do want to be able to, because it's not, I don't see it more as for me. I see it more that the higher the number, the more families that I get to protect.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is
to you.
important to me.
Yeah, which we talked about. You've not seen the True Talk that we did. We talk a lot about there and stuff you've gone through. Your mom,
Yes.
family members, people you know, why this is so important to you. But what I want to talk about today is certain scenarios that like agents run into. It's you've been selling out for 3 years.
Yes.
It's safe to say that there's probably not a situation that an agent's going to run into that you haven't already ran into, right? Like our clients for the most part are like a handful of scenarios. It's not rocket science,
Yes.
right? Like you've seen just about everything you're going to see. So I want to throw some like one of the most important parts of the life insurance sale is presenting the right product and filling out the application properly. It sounds simple and
Yes.
basic, but
it's not.
It's not.
No.
If I sit down with you and I don't ask you the right questions and I don't apply to the proper carrier, proper product, I could get you declined, right?
Yes.
And not that that's the end of the world, but you also have it's like a short window with your clients, right? They're only going to want to see you and talk to you for so long, so many times. They don't want you to go through 18 carriers to find the one. Like you want to present the one that the most likely to get approved with,
Yes.
right? And fits their needs and their budget. So every client, every application, or most carriers have a height and weight requirement, right?
Yes.
But there's sometimes you meet a client where health-wise they're good. Maybe their weight's above the, recommended build chart. What do you do in that situation?
Depending on their age,
Yep.
for example, Aetna doesn't look at height and weight.
Okay.
So as long as they could be able to get approved
From a health standpoint.
with the health part, then I will go to Aetna
Got it.
to make sure that they can get an approval.
Yep.
Because the most important thing is to get something that they can actually
Absolutely.
have for their family more than anything.
Yeah, and that's something that it maybe not as easy to talk about with hey, you're too big, but hey, the carriers have this height and weight chart. They're a little strict
There's actually National Life also.
Yep.
They have a chart that everyone can look up, right?
Okay.
And not always they could qualify for maybe standard.
Yep.
But there are 2 other sub categories that they might be able to get.
Okay.
That depending on the height and weight, you might be able to get away with as
Got
well.
it.
So I usually go first to the better scenario, better product.
Okay.
And if they don't qualify,
Then move
then
to-
I move to.
How do you have that conversation? Because I feel like there's, I'm sure there's agents going, I would never want to sit there and tell my client, they're too overweight for this product. But so if you're sitting with me and you realize, Mike, your weight is above, how do you explain that to me?
Well, I let them know that I'm going to look for the best carrier that can be able to try to give them an approval first off. And that if one company specifically may not get them approved, we always have other options to
Got
go
it.
through. I try not to focus too much on trying to get them feel like there's a possibility they may not get it.
Yeah.
If I know that the carriers might be able to accept them.
Got it.
So I just let them know one doesn't work. Don't worry about it. I might have a different company for you.
So it's not a big deal. Got it. Here's another one. They had a stent put in their heart. Common, right?
Yes.
You're running this a lot. Where do you go with that client?
I will go to Corbridge.
Okay.
There's a way that I explain the product itself because I know that not everybody wants to be on that two-year waiting period, right?
Right.
But I feel that the way I explain it makes sense for them. And that's actually one of the carriers that I have the least chargebacks with because when I know that they can qualify for anything else, and they usually know also because they might have applied with somebody else, when you explain it to them as a savings account, you put your money in the bank is only going to give you 0.1%.
Right.
You put that money in that policy, anything happens to you naturally, they're going to get the money back plus a 10%, right?
Yep.
But if it's an accident, it pays off.
Okay.
Now, what happens if you survive those 2 years? Then you have a full policy, and every other company that you get a policy with has a 2-year contestability.
Right.
So you're basically going through the same process.
Correct.
With the difference that if it's an accident, it pays. And if not, you don't lose any money. Your family gets all the money back plus that 10%.
Yeah.
And when I explain it that way, it usually makes sense for them, and they stick to the product.
Right.
So I've only had like chargebacks because of death claims that I didn't know that they actually
absolutely
take it even if they die.
Yeah, they do. And it's just like you said, it's explaining it to the client.
Yes.
Like, first of all, if someone can only get a policy like Corbridge, they have some health. They don't just have, high blood pressure. There's some stuff going on, or they had a history. So a lot of it is just hitting your clients with the truth. Like, you have this stuff going on because
and the more transparent you are, the better, because they're gonna understand exactly why you're going that route.
Absolutely. Like, I'd love to give you, $5 million in insurance for whatever, but you had a heart attack last year.
Yes.
Thank God we can actually still get you anything. And it seems like you're doing pretty good now. You live past 2 years, you got a real life insurance policy.
Yeah.
And we could also revisit it then. Like, you ever talk to them about that? Like, right now, based on where your health is, because they're going to do a snapshot of where you are today.
If anything changes in a year or 2 years, and we can be able to get a better policy, then we could always sit down, go over your options, go over your health, and see if you could possibly change and get something better. What I don't recommend is if you already have somebody in a product that has a 2-year waiting period, and you're trying to replace the product, because if that person has been on it for a year and they only need another year, you're starting over that 2-year waiting period. So we always have to make sure that when we do this, we let the client know how it works, but we also find out more details into if they even have something.
Right.
Because what if you give them something, they like the way you explain it, but they have something already that's halfway there.
Right.
And they're thinking about letting that go because you did a better job than the previous agent.
But then you're putting them back in that two-way.
So we always have to make sure that we dig into all that and make sure that we keep the person in the best position possible.
Absolutely. What about a client with depression? Very common nowadays, right? So I guess, now there's so many different types, whatever, but you sit down with me and I go, Efraysa, I have been treated for depression.
Well, it all depends on how severe the depression is, or whether there's any medications.
So what are you looking for?
I'm looking for medications, and I'm looking for how long they've had it more than anything. I feel that when the person has it for a long time and it's manageable, they're okay to qualify for better products like an IUL or a term life insurance. Versus when it's very recent and it has a lot of medications, then that's where you might not be able to go that route, and you might have to go like with a final expense.
Got it. So let's say, I guess what's a long 5 years, 10 years? When you
I've had, from my experience, people with about 10 years of depression taking medications and still being able to get qualified for like an IUL.
Got it.
For example.
Okay. But if it's recent, hey, I was diagnosed last year. I've been on, all the, because a lot of times when it's first diagnosed, they try out medications. So there's like,
we don't know what's going to work,
Yep.
one. And two, you don't know how that person's going to react because they're depressed. So the longer they've had it and they've managed to go through life with it, the more possibility that it gives the carrier to say, you know what, they've had it for 10 years and they haven't tried to do anything crazy. Let's approve
Got it. Let's say it's recent, right? Last year I got diagnosed and I've been on all these different medications. Where are you going from there?
What I like to do before doing an application, if that's the case and I'm not 100% sure which carrier to go to, I always like to call the carriers and explain to them go over the health of the person, right? And let them know the year of diagnosis, if there's any medications, what medications. Because I feel that if you do that application and there's a possibility that it might get declined, the more applications that you do, the more limitations you have for that client to be able to go to a company. Because when you have somebody that doesn't tell you that they've applied several times, and then you go and you do an application and you get a message, let's say from America, that the limit of MIB check is already over the amount of checks that they could do, I'd rather do the work. Like, I'd rather do the dirty work and find out, and then go to the right place from there.
You sell only in Spanish, right?
Yes.
Now, when you're dealing with a lot of the Hispanic demographic, there's people that are coming here from other countries, right? Sometimes they're in the middle of that process where maybe they don't have a Social Security number yet. In the past, life insurance agents they'd leave, right? Well, what are you going to do? But there are some products where you can get somebody covered without a Social Security number, right?
Yes. If the person is healthy enough, you could actually do a whole life term or an IUL with National Life.
Okay.
Even if they have an ITIN or they just have a passport, let's say, or consular ID, right?
Okay.
Now, if it's a person that doesn't qualify for those products and the person has an ITIN and qualifies for a final expense, then definitely American Amicable.
Okay. And then, so you could just have their passport.
Yes.
And get them coverage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, FNG covers the IULs with ITIN.
Which is awesome because, I mean, you think about, how we are as far as an immigration standpoint, there's always people coming here from other countries.
Yes.
And
not only that usually when they come into this country, the husband is the one that provides and the wife stays home with the kids.
Yep.
What happens if that person passes?
Right.
And they don't have anything to protect their family. That's an income that is no longer going to be there. And being able to provide that knowledge, right? Because it's knowledge more than anything.
Yeah.
Provide that to immigrants that come in.
Right.
That it's that person that's working really, really hard to support their family, that they have the possibility to get covered. And if anything happens to them, their family will be okay. So I feel that that's a game changer.
Absolutely.
And having the language and the product and being able to help will increase the awareness that life insurance is something that they should do, but they still can't do it.
Because how many people do you think come here from other countries and have no idea
Millions.
what life insurance
Millions
even is,
of
right?
people. Yes. It's not in our culture.
Right.
People don't usually buy life insurance. People are used to paying for the funeral expenses in advance, buying that little land where they're going to build and having that little empty space for the next one, but not having life insurance. It's not something that comes from the Hispanic community.
Right.
So it is our job to try to educate them and let them know, listen, if you could transfer that risk that we all have to a company for a very little amount of money a month, why not do it?
Right. Absolutely. That's great. Let's move into some objections, okay? So I always say this every week that my favorite thing is not to overcome the objection. I think that in your sales process, you can avoid these objections by the things you say, how you educate your client. But that's not how it's going to be day one, right? You're going to learn that skill. And even with that, you're going to hear some of this stuff. A lot of times, I've heard people say they're not really an objection. It's just that they haven't been educated enough, so on and so forth. So I'm going to throw a few of these at you, and you let me know if you're coaching me as an agent, how would you tell me to handle these, right? Okay. So first one is, listen, I'm young and healthy. I don't need life insurance right now.
I understand that. I feel that if you do it now, because it's going to be less expensive now, you could actually provide a better future for your family. And not only that, if the person is healthy, for example, there are living benefits. So you can offer an IUL. You can offer them to have a retirement through that IUL and have the living benefits with the illnesses more than anything. Because a lot of people feel that they only need life insurance if they have kids.
Right.
That person is young, for example. Now is the best time to do it. Because that way, if anything happens tomorrow with their life, with their health, they don't have to worry about doing it at a more expensive cost and maybe not even qualify.
Right.
So I always let them know, listen, this is the best time to do it. It's going to be less expensive. You're healthiest. You never know what could happen tomorrow. Age is nothing but a number. We never know who's going to go by first. it could happen at any time.
Right.
I always tell them also the story of one of my cousins. Passed when he was 23 years old.
Okay.
Very healthy, had a heart attack in the room right next to his mom.
23.
23 years old.
No previous
heart issues, nothing.
Just had a heart attack and
had a heart attack, and my aunt found out the next morning. She felt like she was smelling flowers or something.
Yeah.
And she felt guilty because she was in the next room to him, and she couldn't do anything. But knowing that it doesn't matter the age.
Right.
Things could happen at any time. I mean, we're here to live a purpose of life. But what if we have that date that's going to come and we certainly don't know when it's going to happen?
Right.
Why not have the protection and make sure that if anything happens to us, our family will be okay? I think that's the most important part of it.
And it's like your health. Like, think about when you're going to get a loan, they look at your credit score,
Yes.
right? The higher your credit score, the better rate you're going to get.
Yes.
Your health is kind of like that with insurance. Imagine that's your credit score, right?
Yes.
The healthier you are, the better options you're going to have from a life insurance standpoint. Lower premiums, more coverage, right? Less restrictions, better rates. The worse your health is, the more your insurance is going to cost. The older you are, like you can be in the same exact health. You're 10 years older, your policy is going to cost you more unless you get it locked in. So it's like your health is almost like your life insurance credit score.
Yep, and the prices won't change.
Right.
As long as you can show them price-wise, everything's going to stay the same. They'll be okay with it.
Absolutely. This one's my favorite. I got insurance through work. I'm good.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Right.
When they have life insurance, I know that they know how it works.
Yep.
Not always a person gets to keep the life insurance that they have at work. Most of the time they lose it and then they got to start all over. So what I usually say is, yes, it's good to have the insurance that you have that from work because it's going to help your family if anything happens to you while you're still working. But why not get something personal now that is going to cost you less than when you turn 65, 80 years old, and then you're looking for life insurance because you work all your life, and now you're here with no insurance, and you got to pay hundreds of dollars for that insurance for a little bit of coverage, where you could maybe potentially now get more coverage for a lesser price.
Absolutely. It's like, what a lot of them don't understand about, and even agents don't understand this sometimes, that the work insurance is a group policy based on.
And that's why they get it for so cheap.
Absolutely, because they're looking at everyone who works. They're looking at the guy who's 60, who's worked there for his whole life, and then the new staff who's 22. They're averaging all that out, and they go, okay, your policy will be $4 a month.
Yep, and sometimes they're able to keep it, and if they do, usually the price doubles or triples.
Absolutely,
and that's why my mom went through that.
Oh, she did.
She had insurance through work, and when she left work, it doubled.
How long did she work there for?
Oh, more than 20 years.
More than 20 years. You remember how much coverage she had roughly?
She has about 30,000.
30,000 through work.
Paying, at least it was a whole life and not a term.
Okay.
Paying about $20-something a month while working. And right now she's like at $80 a month.
Yeah.
But it's only a little bit of insurance.
Right.
But she was able to do it at an early age, so that's why the price is not so high. But it did increase from what she was used to paying.
And she lucked out because a lot of times they increase a lot more because you're in this group, so you're getting the group rate.
Yes.
Once you retire, leave, go to another job, or they change their benefit plan, whatever, you're now out of that group.
And you start all over again, at a different age, and God forbid knows if you're healthy still or not.
You hear a lot of that too. Like my dad worked at the casino, actually probably the one right up the street from here.
Okay.
And he worked there for probably 20 plus years. Had a retirement, whole deal, had a life insurance, and when he went to retire, they're like, okay, here's your new rate, and it was like 4 or 5 times. Like it was too much for him to even afford. And then his health had changed too, so I've seen that where they drop you.
Yes.
Right, you're getting ready to leave. Oh well, you got cancer, you had a heart attack, you had this. They drop you from your group because they don't know. It's not your policy.
Yep.
You don't own it.
And why do they give it to them? Because there's a deduction at the end of the year.
Absolutely. How about this? I feel like guys would say this more. I don't really want to think about death right now. I don't want to talk about death right now.
Now, I understand that, but what would happen to your family if you were to not wake up tomorrow? How is the day tomorrow going to look like for your daughter or your son?
Right.
Can you please walk me through that?
Yeah, just go back to it.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like if it sounds that crazy, it is like don't take that serious. Like I don't Well, that's what we're here to talk about. So anyways, like just move past it. If you make it a big deal, they will.
And if you let them talk, like if you ask them, how would tomorrow look like if tomorrow you were to pass for your family? Can you please walk me through that? Hearing themselves, saying it, imagining what's going to happen, going through that scenario is going to let them know and feel that they really should at least listen. And if we find something that it's comfortable for them, because this is not about getting something that they cannot afford or that's out of the limits, right? It's always looking for the right product, but that they can always afford it no matter what emergency they have.
Yeah.
So as long as we focus on that, they should be okay with going forward with the sale.
Last thing, I got a few scenarios here. Like, I'm going to throw some stuff at you. I want you to tell me if you're meeting with this client or these clients, where are you going from a product standpoint? What do you think you're going to offer them? So like a young family, young professionals, they both, husband and wife both working. They're starting a family. Maybe they have a newborn. Maybe they're pregnant. Like they're in that early phase. Where are you going from a product standpoint?
It depends. If they want something temporary or they want to just protect the children while they're still young, I could do a term.
Okay.
Depending if they want to get cash back, America. If they just want to get the best price possible with living benefits, then I'll go to NOG.
Okay.
Now, if they want something permanent, then being that they're young, we could do an IUL as long as they qualify for it, of course. And do it, and it could be a combination of the two, because it could be a term so that they have the most protection and they could still have that IUL. But it's all going to depend on what is it, how long they want to be able to provide and what they want to achieve. If they want to do something so that they could have money saved so that if there's anything that they need to borrow from, they have it available. Or, for example, if they say, I just want to do it for the amount of time that my children are little. So then term. I always explain the difference between something temporary and something that's going to last forever.
Got it. So
and
you explain
whatever
that
route they go, whatever route they want to go, I just help them find the best product.
It's like our sales process is you're educating them enough to help them make the decision, right? Like
because at the end of the day, it's not up to me.
Right.
I got to do whatever it is that they want, but I also have to let them know what's available. Because they don't really know as much as we do.
If they knew, you wouldn't be talking to them. They would go out and get insurance on their own. Like you can buy insurance on your own. You don't have to go, So our clients are people that they have, for whatever reason, decided that they can't do this by themselves. They need someone to help them, guide them, steer them, but educating them enough and getting them, because at the end of the day, you want to meet their needs. But you have to educate them to even help them figure out what their needs really are.
Correct.
What about first-time home buyers?
First-time home buyers could do a term. For the same amount of the mortgage, same amount of years. If they want something more on the long route, then maybe an IUL. Now, let's say that person that just purchased a home doesn't qualify for those products. Then I'll go for a final expense. Doesn't have to be one policy. It could be more than one. Now, what I usually do is whatever it is that they're paying of that mortgage amount that they're paying every month, whatever amount we get, I divide it by the amount of mortgage payments or the amount that they're paying for that mortgage, and I let them know how many months of mortgage they're leaving behind for the family. So it all depends if they qualify or not. So a term will be ideal because they just want to cover the mortgage. If they want something in the long run, it could be an IUL that's going to be less expensive, not than the term, but less expensive than anything else. And then if anything, then lastly will be the final expense to provide you have to go payment
sometimes. And it's all about the presentation. Like if I go, Efraysa, man, you're not going to be eligible for a term. We're going to have to go the final expense. Or if I go, listen, because of your health, it's going to put you out of these companies, but we can do a mortgage payment protection. I don't need to call it final expense. This is a whole life policy.
No, and if they tell you, wait, I didn't want $50,000. That's not what I was looking for. Are you looking for life insurance or are you looking to protect the mortgage? Because I thought we were doing the mortgage.
And these are our options. This is what we have.
It's all how we present it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Last one, clients nearing retirement.
Depending on the age, if they're healthy, they could still go for an IUL. I wouldn't go for something temporary.
No.
They're too old already to do that. And it's going to cost them a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So I will either do an IUL if it's feasible for them price-wise, and if not, then a final expense.
Got it. And you are selling over the phone?
Yes,
Zoom
100%.
or just the phone?
The phone, and if the client doesn't really trust so much and wants to see you, then we bring them on Zoom.
Got it. Now, did you always sell over the phone, or were you ever in the house?
No, I had to dial. Schedule appointments in the first year at least.
Yeah.
Schedule appointments. Sometimes they wouldn't show up. Door knock.
Yeah.
We went on trips to South Carolina when I just started, and I think I door knock on 20 houses the first day because there was an application that I didn't know anything about Road Warrior, I think it is.
Yeah.
So I will go to different houses at different places, and then when I found that app, the next day I think I door knocked like 100 people.
Okay.
But it was tough.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I can't do this.
Because you lived in New York, so you couldn't sell in the house in New York, so you would go on travel trips?
Yes. We'll go usually to Florida.
Yeah.
We did South Carolina, and we went once to Tampa.
Okay.
Degna, one of the girls that used to be with me, and I for my birthday to do
birthday.
schedules.
Yeah.
So it was a nice.
How long would you go for? A weekend? A week?
We usually do it for a week or 4 days.
And you dial before you go.
Dial, schedule, and then go to the appointments. Not fun.
No.
At all.
When did you transition to telesales?
We transitioned to telesales the end of 2022.
Yeah. And how was that for you?
Amazing.
Yeah.
In the sense that because this is what happens. You schedule an appointment, you drive an hour, you sit with a client, not always you close.
Right.
Because sometimes you can't close them, right?
Yep.
And then you have to travel back that 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
In that time frame of 2 hours, you could have dialed maybe 20 people.
Right.
And maybe even helped one.
Yep.
So I feel that doing it from home, being able to literally just call, dial, wait for that no or that yes that's going to come, and then really focus on that person that really wants it and wants your help and you can help, then it's way better than just doing it in person.
Right. And it's a little different, right? Like your show ratio is typically higher when you're in home.
Yes.
But it's like as long as you know that, like what do you do to overcome that? Do you double book? Do you book like on the half hour?
We try to double book, but also make sure that when we schedule that appointment, we ask the client if there's anything that might happen that they may not be able to pick up. It's not 100% that they always show.
Right.
But it's not just about that one person. Yeah. You still have, if that person doesn't show, you have, guess what? You have half an hour to an hour that you could start dialing other people that might want it.
Yeah.
So it's the more people you call, the more possibilities that you have to close.
And once you've done it for a little bit, you know your numbers. Yeah. You know that, hey, if like a lot of people say that 50% of them show up.
Yeah.
So if you know that, book some extra appointments.
And things happen.
Yeah.
Life happens. And it doesn't necessarily mean all the time that they don't want what you have.
Right.
It could be that they just really either forgot that they had the appointment or something came up and they couldn't. And some people could text you, "Oh, I'm not available." I always text. If they don't show, I always say, "Is it still a good time for us? We had an appointment scheduled." And they usually tell you, "Oh, we could schedule for another day," or "I'm not available. I'm not interested."
Sometimes they just forget and then they get on. Yeah. I mean, I have that happen with people in corporate that have meetings. Like, dude, we had a meeting. Oh, I just forgot. So, I think it's a great point to bring up because as an agent, mindset's so important because you could have that situation and think that the worst every time, right? My clients don't want to meet with me.
They focus on that, and guess what? They stop showing up.
Right. When a lot of times maybe they just forgot. Yeah. Maybe they got called into work. Like, reach out and don't always take it personal. Like that's one of I think the biggest skills in this business is when you're dealing with clients and sales. Don't take anything they say, do, or don't do personal. They're not there because they don't like you. They're just
and you're here to help.
Absolutely.
That's all you got to do. As long as you show up, that you're gonna help them. That's all that they want. They want someone that's going to help, someone that's going to listen, and someone that's not just going to throw any product in front of them.
Correct.
When they feel that they're having a conversation with a real person, with a person that cares, with a person that's asking and digging into these questions as of why they need it, what is it that they're trying to achieve. It's totally different than when you come from a standpoint that they tell you, "Oh, I'm looking for $25,000. And you're just going straight into a company, a product, and how much it's going to cost. No, you got to dig in, and you have to literally try to combine that and have that attraction from the client that they can trust you and that you're different because you're listening to them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming in doing this. The 4 hours it took you. Next time if you come back, we're going to take the ferry, right?
Yes,
so you get here quicker.
definitely.
But I appreciate all you guys are doing. And like I said, we had Digna here recently, and it's amazing to see what you guys are doing for the Spanish market, a demographic that has been underserved. And it's a theme of like, you know, when we got into this business, our goal was to help middle America, who is the percentage of the population who is typically ignored when it comes to life insurance. Most of these companies, they either prey on your friends and family or they're chasing the big money guys, right? They're in the city looking for the yacht owners, the mansion, and they want to sell 3 or 4 policies a year and make millions. And then middle America is usually like, we don't want to talk to them. They don't have money. So we've always focused on that demographic, but then you get even deeper. There's a whole nother demographic of people that don't speak English, Spanish-speaking citizens that don't have access or don't know they have the access to the same products.
Absolutely.
And what you guys are doing with Digna, the whole team, it's amazing because it's a whole different percentage of the population that now has insurance that would have never even thought
that they could qualify,
that these options were out there.
And not only that Spanish agent that maybe doesn't speak English and that they go and get the license and they work in a place where they cannot communicate with who they're working with, and they just let go of the license.
Absolutely.
Because they have no idea that there's other people that can help them in their language.
And we're going to continue growing this thing. We started a few years ago at our convention. We had the first year, it was like we had our big convention, and then we had like a room upstairs with like 100 people that, you know, it was a Spanish speaking only. Then the next year got a little bigger. And then last year, you guys had your own event going on at the same exact time. Less people, but I'd say more energy at times. Like you guys had Sean up there falling off of tables, giving out leads. Like it's awesome. And as someone who I met, my wife's Hispanic. We have Hispanic kids. It's cool to see that what's being done for that demographic. It's awesome.
Definitely.
So appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Whether you speak English, Spanish, or whatever, you should be at the annual convention.
Yes, and not by yourself.
Not by yourself.
You got to bring everyone, no matter how new or they're going to get started, to get there, because what they're going to see is going to change the perspective of what's possible and what they may be able to achieve. Absolutely.
FFLconvention.com. Get a ticket. Cost all of $99. All the VIP tickets are sold out.
Yes.
I think there's some of the middle tier that are still available. That's where
and they also have the Spanish convention.
Spanish convention too. $99 to get you in both.
Yes.
And we had a keynote speaker for the Spanish event too.
Yes.
I forget Mariana. I forget her last name.
I don't remember the name.
But I heard she's great. And, you know, there'll be lead giveaways there as well.
So make sure you sit next to who's giving out the lead.
Yes.
And have a poster.
Yeah, bring
with
a sign.
With a nice story.
Yep.
He loves children, by the way.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Single moms, too.
The best was one year someone had a box of Wheaties. I can't even make this up. With like a high school picture of Sean on the box of wheat for some reason. Like, first of all, where did y'all get this picture? They got free leads, let's put it that way.
Nice.
January 29th through February 1st, Irving Convention Center down in Irving, Texas, right outside of Dallas area. Join us there. Get your tickets. They will sell out. You know, so there's a bunch available now. Yeah, because it's a few months out, but you know how people are. Last minute, and I would get them now.
They should all register today,
Absolutely.
right now.
Because it's limited capacity. Like, it's not like the stadium where we could have had 100,000 people. We got about a 4,000 or 5,000 person limit.
Definitely.
So,
they got to do it now.
Absolutely. So thanks again, Efraysa Ramos.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully we'll see you in Irving, Texas, FFLconvention.com. Get registered. We'll see you soon.